A legal tender coin is defined as having a pound denomination, something that we can spend, something that's a real coin of the realm. But recently that was put to the test by somebody who ended up getting arrested for trying to pay with a £100 silver coin. He got compensated for that wrongful arrest. So what does that mean for legal tender status on coins? Can we one day see this giant kilo coin actually being exchanged for £500 more than perhaps its face value if silver drops? Let's have a good old chat about the legal tender status of coins and what it means for the future of this incredible completer kilo. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and a warm welcome to you all joining me for this week's Precious Metal Ramble, where I want to talk about the legal tender status of coins. After all, that legal tender status is what defines a coin as a coin, otherwise it would not be a coin, it would just be a generic round, or a piece of poured silver perhaps, or just a generic bullion bar, even if they are rather pretty looking from places like the Royal Mint. This is not a coin, it does not have a designated legal tender status. So that legal tender is really important for a number of different factors. First and foremost, the capital gain status of the particular coin. You can buy, you can sell this at a profit and not have to worry about those profits being taxed. However, for other products, that can be a problem. But that's not really what I want to focus on here today, because in the media recently there's been a very interesting case about a gentleman here in the United Kingdom who tried to pay for diesel, and has in fact successfully paid for his petrol and diesel a number of times with £100 silver coins, and other denominations as well, to be fair, made by the Royal Mint. They were the £100 for £100 silvers and 50 for 50, 20 for 20, which came out a while ago. And those coins are technically legal tender. They have that denomination of £100, and you can spend them in shops, theoretically. And this gentleman is testing out that premise and that fact by buying the diesel and then paying for it with those £100 coins and the £50 coins. However, one of the trips that he made was less than successful because the petrol station that he went to refused to take that payment. And eventually the police was called, and after a very long chat with the police, he was arrested and interviewed, and then eventually no further action was taken. And he then subsequently took civil action against the police for wrongful arrest. After all, he basically was just trying to pay for goods with legal tender. And he eventually got a settlement out of court for £5,000. So that raises a load of interesting questions about the legal tender status of coins. And most specifically, I'm interested in this big, giant kilo completer coin here. The monster that is, the big chunky monkey, because it's got a denominated value of £500. Now we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment, but I do want to just very quickly say that legal tender status of coins, from this case has definitely been demonstrated as something that you can't be prosecuted for if you attempt to pay for something with a legal tender status item. However, the practicalities of this, I think, have also been highlighted, that quite honestly, going into these shops and trying to pay for things with these commemorative coins is something that's a little bit different, something that's a little bit unexpected, and a lot of these shops and shopkeepers and shop managers won't know anything about this and might well do as this person had and have the police come around to talk about it. And, in an unlikely circumstance, you could find yourself in some hot water, and that's not something I would ever recommend or want or say to someone that you should do to stand up for your rights. Now, I know it's a bit of a strange thing, to say don't stand up for your rights, but ultimately it's down to every person's individual circumstances. I know personally for me, I would not want the absolute, for want of a better phrase, ball ache of going through an entire year or plus or more of all of this, civil action and threat of prosecution and all of this, just to prove a point. I think there are plenty of other people out there who are proving that point for me, and that's not something I want to do. So you won't see on this channel anytime soon myself heading down to the shops and trying to buy something for £500 with this big chunky £500 coin, and it's not something I would necessarily recommend. But that argument is kind of, I think, I'm going to play devil's advocate here and say that argument is probably what the Royal Mint is relying on most people doing. And in fact, these £100 for £100 coins, 50 for 50, 20 for 20, I do remember briefly when they were coming out, because it was right at the start when I was buying silver, and I did consider buying them. But again, at the same time, for me, it was like, well, they're technically legal tender, but it's not something that I think I would ever take that risk on, take that punt on. And you saw at that time people buying them. You could buy them off eBay for like £90, 95, or even on the silver forum, people were looking to cash out from them as soon as they got them. And there are people like this chap who perhaps do scour eBay and buy them for less than that face value, and ultimately then are getting more value for their money, which, by the way, if you've not watched the entire kind of saga from his channel, was one of the keen arguments of the arresting police officer, that because he was specifically buying these things on the cheap from eBay and wherever he might have got them, that he was being dishonest, and that was part of the suspected crime that he was committing. It was this dishonest kind of intent to make away with more value than not, and that's just a completely counter argument to any common sense. So I personally never bought any of these, but there are a lot of them out there. So those are different to your sort of regular bullion coins, because they have a very, very large denomination relative to the silver content. Those coins were about, I think they were 2-ounce silver coins, and with a £100 denomination. They were sold as 100 for 100, and very interestingly, quite quickly after those coins were put out into the world, the Royal Mint basically sent a memorandum out to pretty much every bank in the land to say, you don't have to accept these. Whilst they're legal tender, they're not made for general circulation and business use, which basically put them up the kibosh and meant that these coins pretty much were never going to be able to be used in various different circumstances. But they are still legal tender, and that legal tender status is really, really important. Now, from this coin's perspective, let's go and talk into this a bit more. So the £500 denomination here, this is a kilo of silver. So 32.15 ounces worth of silver. And if you just do the maths in terms of, I'm going to grab my calculator out, so I didn't do this ahead of time. If you do the maths and you do £500 divided by 32.15, you get yourself a value of £15.55 of pounds per ounce, basically. Now that is significantly more than the 10-ounce, £10 coin that you've got over here. Now, of course, if you do the maths there, it's £1 an ounce. So 15.5 times more value in face value than silver value compared with the others. When you get down to the 1-ounce silver coin here, which is a £2 coin, you're looking at 50p. Again, £1, can't do the maths quickly. £1 an ounce again. So very, very interesting that this is, sorry, I can't even do the maths. You get this, which is £2 an ounce. I realised that. I was thinking, no, this is a 2-ounce coin. No, it's not. It's a 1-ounce coin. £2 divided by 1 is 2. So 2 to 1. Again, this is 7 and a bit times more the face value of it. And that strikes me as a little bit odd, a little bit different. And the massive ratio there does strike an interesting premise. And where I can see this being an issue is if in the future silver goes below that spot price of £15.50, which we're not that far away from. We're only £17.50 at the moment, so £2 an ounce more it has to drop. And all of a sudden this face value is higher than the metal content of the coin. So in theory, you could cash this out for that £500. If silver drops to £5 an ounce and the material value of this coin is worth 150, this is still worth £500, theoretically, in theory. Now, testing out that theory is going to be difficult, interesting. I've talked a few times about the potential to go to the Bank of England with it and actually, cash out with that sort of in mind, saying that it is a £500 coin. And I'm pretty confident that you would get your £500 for it, certainly after this example case where it is proved that it is basically legal tender. Whether you could go down to a shop with this and buy it is another matter. I think part of the problem here on this whole case is coins in general and notes. They are, of course, designed for regular circulation, and the whole point of it's a really interesting argument. The whole point of this is that we all believe that this is worth £20. we basically assign this value of £20 because if I give this to a shopkeeper for £20, he can pay his staff with it. That staff member can take it to a petrol station, fill up their car. That petrol station can go to their bank, put it in the bank, and then you get £20 added to your digital credit. So cash is this thing that we all believe in, and the same goes for coins as well. And these are all recognised. These are all easily recognised by general members of the public. We all use them, even if it is less nowadays than it was before. This cash is serving a purpose. This is not something that everybody would see every day, and it then forms this problem of businesses being able to actively use it. And some businesses might be able to take it and accept it as payment. And in fact, you saw, if you've watched the saga of Jamie Chamberlain, you can see that he has, on many occasions paid for his fuel in these silver coins. And one can only imagine that the petrol stations, the businesses that run them, essentially take these coins to either the Bank of England or their bank, or they try and get that money credited into their account somehow from that coin. And whether that coin makes its way back to the Royal Mint eventually, I don't know. But that will happen. But it takes time, energy, and effort. And the whole point of coins is that they are up to a certain value. They're not actually legal tender beyond that. So these particular coins, the 50p's, you can only spend up to £20 worth. And the thing is, if you've got a bill to pay that's worth more than £20, you can't rock up with a bag of 150p's and pay for it. You can with £2 coins and £1 coins. Those are unlimited. And the same is for £5, £10, 50, 20 and £100 coins. So it is an interesting premise. Theoretically, technically speaking, this is legal tender, and it is something that you can go and pay your debts with. Now, the only other thing that I have from my research worked out is that if you ever have a court debt, if you ever go to court and are fined, or if you're ever ordered by a court to pay a debt, then you can use these coins to pay for it, as they are legal tender. That's the only surefire thing that I would see. So it does raise a whole bunch of very interesting questions. Certainly I think the biggest question for me is about this particular coin, about the £500 denomination there. It being really interesting about the ratio between its weight value, the raw silver value, and its denominated value compared with other silver and even gold stuff out there. Because this being a £100 coin here, for a 1 ounce gold coin, purchased at £1,400, maybe let's call it £1,300 spot price, 13-to-1 metal to pound ratio. And you look at that again and you think that's a lot. That's a lot of value in that one coin, especially as we're not that far away from it being worth more on a face value than we are in the metal. So I do think it is interesting. I do think, though, that going out and spending this in shops would be next to impossible. Whether or not we get to a point in this world where currencies are so devalued that these things actually will make a difference is time will tell, basically. Of course, if our currency inflates away to nothing, then this £500 coin will most certainly not be worth more as face value than silver, because the silver content, I think, will far outstrip that, and we'll see silver prices go up and up and up. But it does raise interesting questions. It certainly does. And if you've not checked out all of this particular story and saga from Jamie Chamberlain's channel, then go and check it out. There's links down in the description below. And also go and have a look at the interview he did with Salivate Metal. I think it was really fascinating and very interesting indeed. Is it something that you'll see happening on this channel? Will I jump out and try and fill up my car and pay for it with a big old chunky silver coin? No, I don't think so. I don't want the hassle of it. I don't want the headache of it. It's not the kind of thought experiment that I want to put into practice, but I do think that it is interesting. And who knows, maybe one day we'll pop up to the Bank of England and ask them in question. But again, it's about the practicalities of it. A lot of people say, well, just do it. Or they think that the Bank of England won't accept it because it's a coin. That's immaterial. It's a legal tender denominated coin in the realm. So it will be exchanged for money. It will, 100% guaranteed it will. It's just about whether or not it's practical to do so, and whether you have to go through a whole bunch of different hoops and stupid paperwork and it will take a lot of energy and effort to do it. That's the point. And that's kind of, I guess, the defence mechanism from the Royal Mint and the Bank of England about this. And yeah, that's my thoughts on the matter. I think it's a really interesting subject. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on it. And if you have some interesting experiences, then please do share them down in the comments section below. Otherwise, that is it from me today. A big thank you for you all for watching. If you've enjoyed this video and this presentation, and my stunning maths, I still can't get over that I couldn't divide 2 by 1, then please do hit that thumbs up button and share this around through your social media. That would be wonderful. Otherwise, that is it from me. A big thank you to you all for watching. We'll see you on the next one. As always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.